of Corruption Act, 1988, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, 2002 etc. Court. Several cases were decided in which mens rea was excluded as essential ingredient of crime. In the Indochina Steam Navigation Company Limited, v. Jasjit Singh II Supreme Court at the time of interpretation of Section 52A of the Sea Customs Act, 1878 said that as provision is silent, there is no need to require mens rea. Such cases must be interpreted strictly. Such cases may rudely affect economy of the country. In State of Maharashtra v. M.G. George III Supreme Court convicted accused under Foreign Exchange and Regulation Act, 1947, FERA, 1947, even without mens rea. In the case of Nur Mohammad Jamalbhai Latiwala v. State of Gujarat, Gujarat High Court observed, unfortunately in the last few years, the country has seen an alarming rise in white-collar crimes which has affected the fiber of the country's economic structure. These cases are nothing but private gain at the cost of public, and lead to economic disaster. In the present case also, if not national interest, but in view of the rampant white-collar crimes in the field of cooperative banking business of the state, it can hardly be denied that it has adversely affected the economic conditions of the public at large in general and the class of depositors in particular whose life-saving money is either deposited or whose livelihood is dependent on the income of interest. Committee and Commission Santhanam Committee submitted its report in 1964. The committee observed emergence of socio-economic offences. The advance of technological and scientific development is contributing to the emergence of mass society, with a large rank and file and small controlling elite, encouraging the growth of monopolies, the rise of a managerial class and intricate institutional mechanisms. Strict adherence to a high standard of ethical behavior is necessary for the even and honest functioning of the new social, political and economic processes. The inability of all sections of society to appreciate in full this need results in the emergence and growth of white-collar and economic crimes, renders enforcement of the laws, themselves not sufficiently deterrent, more difficult. This type of crime is more dangerous not only because the financial stakes are higher but also because they cause irreparable damage to public morals. There are few reports which also contributed in development of socio-economic offences. These are 2A 1964 SC 1140. Date of judgment, February 3, 1964. 3A 1965 South Carolina 722. Date of judgment, August 24, 1964. 3. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. 1. Santhanam Committee Report, 1964, 2. Law Commission of India, 29th Report, 1966, 3. Law Commission of India, 47th Report, 1972. Important committees and commissions. With the help of following reports, socio-economic offences can be discussed properly. 1. Santhanam Committee Report 4, pages 53 and 54, 1964. 2. Law Commission of India, 29th Report, proposal to include certain social and economic offences in the Indian Penal Code. 5. 1966. 3. Law Commission of India, 47th Report, 1972. 1. Santhanam Committee Report 6, 1964, Social Offences, pages 53 and 54. Summary. A. Emergence of socio-economic offences. B. Examples of white-collar crime. C. Categories of socio-economic offences. A. Emergence of socio-economic offences. Santhanam Committee observed emergence of socio-economic offences. The advance of technological and scientific development is contributing to the emergence of mass society, with a large rank and file and small controlling elite, encouraging the growth of monopolies, the rise of a managerial class and intricate institutional mechanisms. Strict adherence to a high standard of ethical behavior is necessary for the even and honest functioning of the new social, political and economic processes. The inability of all sections of society to appreciate in full this need results in the emergence and growth of white-collar and economic crimes, renders enforcement of the laws, themselves not sufficiently deterrent, more difficult. This type of crime is more dangerous not only because the financial stakes are higher but also because they cause irreparable damage to public morals. B. Examples of white-collar crime. Santhanam Committee observed. For this report is available at web links visited on November 29, Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Tax evasion and avoidance, share pushing, malpractices in the share market and administration of companies, monopolistic controls, usury, under-invoicing or over-invoicing, hoarding, profiteering, substandard performance of contracts of constructions and supply, evasion of economic laws, bribery and corruption, election offences and malpractices are some examples of white-collar crime. C. Categories of socio-economic offences. Santhanam Committee recommended amending IPC 1860. It was observed that in IPC, it is dominated by the notion that almost all major crimes consist of offences against person, property or state. However, the Penal Code does not deal in any satisfactory manner with acts which may be described as social offences having regard to the special circumstances under which they are committed, and which have now become a dominant feature of certain powerful sections of modern society. There are certain social offences may broadly be classified into 1. Offences calculated to prevent or obstruct the economic development of the country and endanger its economic health. 2. Evasion and avoidance of taxes lawfully imposed. 3. Misuse of their position by public servants in making of contracts and disposal of public property, issue of licenses and permits and similar other matters. 4. Delivery by individuals and industrial and commercial in the takings of goods not in accordance with agreed specifications in fulfillment of contracts entered into with public authorities. 5. Profiteering, black marketing and hoarding. 6. Adulteration of foodstuffs and drugs. 7. Theft and misappropriation of public property and funds. And 8. Trafficking in licenses, permits, etc. 7 Categories of socio-economic offences. Categories of socio-economic offences made by Santhanam Committee was again and again quoted in reports of LCI. Para 2, page no. 2. 29th Report, LCI. 7 Santhanam Committee Report, Committee on Prevention of Corruption, Para 7.3, pages 53 and 54, 1964. 5. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Para 1.6, 47th Report, LCI. 2. Law Commission of India, 29th Report, 1966. Proposal to include certain social and economic offences in the India Penal Code Summary. A. History of white-collar crime. B. Definition of white-collar crime and Sutherland. C. Definition of white-collar crime and Arnold. D. Kinds of crimes, white-collar crime and blue-collar crime. A. History of white-collar crime, Para 13. Law Commission of India in its 29th report at Para 13 observed, the problem similar to white-collar crimes had arisen as far back as the 18th century. The South Sea Bubble led to the Bubble Act of 1720, which may be cited as example of an effort by the legislature to deal with fraud on a big scale perpetrated by unscrupulous persons. But the varieties of such crimes and their diverse manifestations were seen more acutely after the First World War. B. Definition of white-collar crime and Sutherland. Earlier it was presumed that crimes were being committed by lower class Sutherland by his studies established that crimes are also committed by upper class, which is more dangerous than crime committed by lower class. LCI quoted definition of Edwin Sutherland. Edwin Sutherland defined white-collar crime as, white-collar crime means a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. 8. The Commission observed that the emphasis is on the connection with occupation. The commission of crime. This category is facilitated by the office, calling, profession or vocation of the individual connected. WCCs exclude crimes like murder, adultery and intoxication, even if committed by people of the upper class, since these have nothing to do with their occupation. See definition of white-collar crime and Arnold. 8. Edwin H. Sutherland, White-Collar Crime. 1949, pp. 9-10. Definition of WCC by Sutherland. Crime committed by upper-class crime must be related to his, her, their occupation. 2 Ingredients 6. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. White-collar criminals are persons of the socio-economic class who violates the criminal law in the course of his occupational or professional activities. He pointed out that white-collar crime was more dangerous to society than crimes committed by the members of the lower class, because of the damage inflicted on the public morals. D. Kinds of crimes: white-collar crime and blue-collar crime. There are 2 types of crime. These are: 1. White-collar crime, it is upper or middle-class crime. 2. Blue-collar crime, it is the crime of the underprivileged. 3. 47th Report of Law Commission of India, 1972, 9. The Trial and Punishment of Social and Economic Offences Summary. A. Definition, Paras 1.8 and 1.9, B. Social offences, C. Economic offences, D. Intersecting circles, A. Salient features of socio-economic offences, Paras 1.4 and 1.5, page 2. A. Definition: white-collar crime may be described as a crime committed in the course of one's occupation by a member of the upper class of the society. Example: 1. A manufacturer of drugs who deliberately supplies substandard drug is a white-collar criminal. Example: 2. A big corporation who has committed evasion of tax fraudulently is white-collar criminal. Example: 3. A person who illegally smuggles, for his personal use, costly television sets, is not white-collar criminal in the above sense, there being no connection between his occupation and the crime committed by him. Example: 4. A pensioner who submits a false returns of income is not white-collar criminal. But all of them, examples 1 to 4, are guilty of social or economic offences. B. Social offences. Social offences are offences which affect health or material welfare of the community as a whole and not merely of the individual victim. C. Economic offences. Economic offences are those offences which affect the country's economy and not merely the wealth of an individual victim. D. Intersecting circle. Socio-economic offences and white-collar crimes could be intersecting circles. Socio-economic offences and crimes of strict liability could also be represented by intersecting circles. 947th Report of Law Commission of India, 1972, is available at web links, visited on December 19, 2021. 7. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Salient features of socio-economic offences. Para 1.4, 47th Report. There are following salient features of the socio-economic offences. 1. Motive. Motive of the criminal is avarice 10 or rapaciousness 11, not lust or hate. 2. Background is non-emotional. Background of the crime is non-emotional, unlike murder, rape, defamation etc. There is no emotional reaction as between the victim and the offender. 3. Victims at large. The victim is usually the state or section of the public, i.e. that portion of the which consumes goods or services, buys shares or securities or intangibles. Even where there is an individual victims, the more important element of the offense is harm to society. 4. Fraud. Mode of operation of the offender is fraud, not force. 5. Willful. Usually, the act is deliberate and willful. 6. Interest protected is twofold. A. Social interest in the preservation of I. The property or wealth or health of its individual members, and national resources, and 2. The general economic system as a whole, from I. Exploitation, or E. Waste by individuals or groups. B. Social interest in the augmentation of the wealth of the country by enforcing the laws relating to taxes and duties, foreign exchange, foreign commerce, industries and the like. 10. Avarice means extreme greed for wealth or material gain. 11. Rapaciousness means having or showing a strong or excessive desire to acquire money or possess things. 8. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Differences between socioeconomic offences and traditional offences. There are following differences between both. Grounds: socioeconomic offences, traditional offences. History: it is new concept. Its origin is found in 18th century. 29th report, LCI. It is old concept. Mens rea: generally, persons are convicted. Even without mens rea. State of Maharashtra v. M. H. George. Generally, actus non facit reum, nisi mens sit rea is followed. Presumption of guilt as rule. 1. Sections 35 and 54, NDPS Act, 1988-2. Section 24, PML Act, 2002. Presumption of innocence as rule. Malimet Committee. Burden of proof: generally, burden of proof lies over accused. 1. Section 68J, NDPS Act, 1988-2. Section 35, NDPS Act deals rebuttable presumption. Accused may rebut this presumption. 3. Section 24, PML Act, 2002. Generally, burden of proof lies over prosecutor. Victim: State of Gujarat v. Mohanlal Jitamalji Porwal and ANR. Here generally victim is whole nation or at mass level. It damages to the national economy and national interest. Here generally victim is individual or group. Heat of passion: State of Gujarat v. Mohanlal Jitamalji Porwal and ANR. It is committed with cool mind. It may be committed either with cool mind or heat of passion. Mode of operation of the offender is generally fraud, not force. 47th report. Mode of operation of the offender is generally force. Motive of the criminal is avarice. 12. Or rapaciousness. 13. Not lust or hate. 47th report of LCI. Here, generally, motive becomes lust or hate. 12. Avarice means extreme greed for wealth or material gain. 13. Rapaciousness means having or showing a strong or excessive desire to acquire money or possess things. 9. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Differences between socioeconomic offences and WCC. Socioeconomic offences and white-collar crimes could be intersecting circles. There are following differences between socioeconomic offences and white-collar crime. Grounds: socioeconomic offenses. White-collar crime definition: socioeconomic offenses may be committed by any person even if he does not have a high social status in his occupation. Social offenses. Social offenses are offenses which affect health or material welfare of the community as a whole and not merely of the individual victim. Economic offenses. Economic offenses are those offenses which affect the country's economy and not merely the wealth of an individual victim. Socioeconomic offenses are combination of social offenses and economic offenses. Edwin Sutherland defined white-collar crime as, white-collar crime means a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. 14. Examples quoted by LCI in its 47th report. Examples quoted by LCI in its 47th report. Examples 1. A person who illegally smuggles, for his personal use, costly television sets, is not white-collar criminal in the above sense, there being no connection between his occupation and the crime committed by him. It is only socio-economic offenses. A manufacturer of drugs who deliberately supplies substandard drug is a white-collar criminal. Remark: this is also socio-economic offenses. Examples 2. A pensioner who submits a false returns of income is not white-collar criminal. It is only socio-economic offenses. A big corporation who has committed evasion of tax fraudulently is white-collar criminal. Remark: this is also socio-economic offenses. Relation between both. Every socio-economic offenses are not white-collar crime. But every white-collar crime is socio-economic offense. 14. Edwin H. Sutherland, White-Collar Crime. 1949, pp. 9-10. 10. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Scope: it is wider, it is narrower. Criminals may be from high or lower society. Here both rich and poor can commit socio-economic offenses. Criminals are from high society. Here only rich commit white-collar crime. Differential association theory. The term white-collar crime was coined by Edwin Sutherland in a speech to the American Sociological Society in 1939. Subsequently, he stated that it may be defined approximately as a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. 15. Differential association theory was propounded by Sutherland. He was searching how a person becomes criminal. According to him, when a person associates with other criminal, he learns values, attitude, techniques and motives for criminal behavior and become criminal. His main focus was on how a person becomes criminal. He did not discuss why a person becomes criminal. Underlying assumption of differential association theory was implicit in early edition of Sutherland's 1933 textbook, made explicit in the third edition, 1939, and revised into the final form in fourth edition, 1947. Name of his book was Principles of Criminology, in which he discussed differential association theory. This theory contains 9 assumptions. Prediction. Differential association predicts that an individual will choose the criminal path when the balance of definitions for law breaking exceeds those for law abiding. This is also known as learning theory of deviance. The principles of Sutherland's theory of differential association key points. 1. Criminal behavior is learned from other individuals. 2. Criminal behavior is learned in interaction with other persons in a process of communication. 3. The principal part of the learning of criminal behavior occurs within intimate personal groups. 15. Offense socio-economic offense. White-collar crime. 11. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. 4. When criminal behavior is learned, the learning includes a. Techniques of committing the crime, which are sometimes very complicated, sometimes simple. B. The specific direction of motives, drives, rationalizations, and attitudes. 5. The specific direction of motives and drives is learned from definitions of the legal codes as favorable or unfavorable. 6. A person becomes delinquent because of an excess of definitions favorable to violation of law over definitions unfavorable to violation of the law. 7. Differential associations may vary in frequency, duration, priority, and intensity. 8. The process of learning criminal behavior by association with criminal and anti-criminal patterns involves all of the mechanisms that are involved in any other learning. 9. While criminal behavior is an expression of general needs and values, it is not explained by those needs and values, since non-criminal behavior is an expression of the same needs and values. James Short Jr. Differential association theory was supported by James Short Jr. on the basis of his study of 176 school children, 126 boys and girls, in 1955. Criticism of the theory. There are following criticism of this theory. 1. Tappan had criticized for ignorance of role of personality, biological and psychological factors. 2. He failed to explain origin of criminality, since criminality has to exist before it can be learned from someone else. 3. According to Eliot, he explained systematic crimes but failed to discuss situational crime. 4. He did not discuss why a person becomes a criminal. 5. Some person may be so much strong that outer criminal can't affect his life. Contribution of this theory. This theory is based on Hindi poem I.e. Sa. Role of peer group in commission of crime has been emphasized. This theory emphasized to consider activities of those persons in whose concert he is living. Parents always take care of their children with whom babies are living and playing. 12. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Socioeconomic offences and actus non facet reum, nisi mens sit rai. Summary. Introduction. Actus non facet reum, nisi mens sit rai. Liability for fault. Strict liability. 47th Report of Law Commission of India. Para 3.17, Para 3.20, The Indo-China Steam Navigation Company Limited. V. Jasjeet Singh, Adal. February 3, 1964, State of Maharashtra v. M. H. George. Introduction. Common law is based on actus non facet reum, nisi mens sit rai. According to this actus reus, prohibited act, is not sufficient to constitute offense unless it is caused with guilty mind. This is also known as fault liability. Every accused shall be presumed to be innocent till proved guilty. This is cardinal principle of criminal law. In case of Sheras vs. De Rotzen, 1895, Justice Wright said in every statute mens rea is to be implied unless contrary is shown. There are certain circumstances in which deviation is possible. In Brent v. Wood, 1946, Justice Goddard 16 observed, it is of the utmost importance for the protection of the liberty of the subject that a court should always bear in mind that, unless the statute, either clearly or by necessary implication rules out mens rea as a constituent part of a crime, a defendant should not be found guilty of an offense against the criminal law unless he has got a guilty mind. Just opposite of fault liability, there is strict liability. There are certain cases in which there is no requirement of mens rea. In Halsbury's Laws of England, 3rd edn. Vol. 10, in para 508, at p. 273. The following passage appears. A statutory crime may or may not contain an express definition of the necessary state of mind. A statute may require a specific intention, malice, knowledge, willfulness, or recklessness. On the other hand, it may be silent as to any requirement of mens rea, and in such a case, in order to determine whether or not mens rea is an essential element of the offense, it is necessary to look at the objects and terms of the statute. Archbold, in his book on criminal pleading, evidence and practice, says there is a presumption that mens rea is an essential ingredient in a statutory offense, but this presumption is liable to be displaced either by the words of the statute creating the offense or by the subject matter with which it deals. 47th Report of Law Commission of India, Para 3.17, Para 3.20, suggested following two important points regarding mens rea. 1. It was suggested that socioeconomic offences must be treated differently from traditional crime. In such offences, mens rea should not be required. Socioeconomic offences represent greater harm. 2. Burden of disproving mens rea should lie over accused. 16. He is known as revival of mens rea. 13. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Statutes and cases related to socio-economic offences and mens rea. There are following statutes and cases in which requirement of mens rea was rejected. 1. Sea Customs ACT, 1878. The Indo-China Steam Navigation Company Limited. V. Jasjeet Singh, Adal. February 3, 1964. In this case, interpretation of several provisions of Sea Customs Act, 1878 was involved. In this case, requirement of mens rea was rejected and accused was convicted. This case is related to smuggling of gold. Chief Justice Gajendra Gadkar said, the intention of the legislature in providing for the prohibition prescribed by Section 52A of the Sea Customs Act is, inter alia, to put an end to illegal smuggling which has the effect of disturbing very rudely the national economy of the country. It is well known, for example, that smuggling of gold has become a serious problem in this country, and operations of smuggling are conducted by operators who work on an international basis. The persons who actually carry out the physical part of smuggling gold by one means or another are generally no more than agents, and presumably, behind them stands a well-knit organization which, for motives of profit-making, undertakes this activity. 2. Foreign Exchange and Regulation ACT, 1947. State of Maharashtra v. M. H. George. This is very popular case. There is no need to discuss again. Majority opinion of Supreme Court convicted accused even without mens rea. Accused was convicted under Foreign Exchange and Regulation Act, 1947. 3. Immoral Traffic Prevention ACT, 1956. Chitan J. Vaswani and ANR vs. State of West Bengal and ANR. 17. In this case, Section 18 of Immoral Traffic and Prevention Act, 1956 was involved. 18. For application of this section, mens rea is not necessary. It was observed in Chitan J. Vaswani and ANR vs. State of West Bengal and ANR. 4. Prevention of Money Laundering ACT, 2002. Ramraju v. Union of India. In Ramraju v. Union of India, issue was whether Section 8 is invalid on the grounds of vague and exclusion of mens rea. Honorable AP High Court replied in negative. 17. This judgment is available at web links visited on December 6, 2020. 18. Section 18 Closure of brothel and eviction of offenders from the premises. 14. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Previous year's question papers, Ul. B. D. U. 2015. Question 1. Discuss the concept and nature of socio-economic offenses. Explain evolution and reasons for development of the same in Indian context. 2016, maybe. Question 1. Discuss the development in the concept of socio-economic offences in India in view of Santhanam Committee Report of 1964 and 47th Report of the Law Commission of India, 1972. Question 3. Differentiate between the traditional crimes and socio-economic offences. 2017. Question 1. Discuss the concept and evolution of socio-economic offences in India. Question 1b. How are the concept, viz. Mens rea, nature of liability, burden of proof and sentencing applicable in socio-economic offences statutes? 2018, maybe. Question 1. Explain the concepts and nature of socio-economic offences in light of the 47th Report of the Law Commission of India, 1972. Question 4. Distinguish between socio-economic offences, white-collar crimes and traditional crimes. 2019. Question 1. Every accused shall be presumed to be innocent till proved guilty. How far is this cardinal principle of criminal law relevant in socio-economic offences statutes? Discuss. Question 3. Explain the concept of white-collar crimes in the light of differential association theory. December 2020, Obey. Sutherland asserts that in an area where the delinquency rate is high, a boy who is sociable, gregarious, active, and athletic is very likely to come in contact with other boys in the neighborhood, learn delinquent behavior from them and become a gangster. The psychopathic boy who is isolated, introverted and inert may remain at home, not become acquainted with other boys in the neighborhood, and not become delinquent. Do you agree with the instance stated by Sutherland? Support your answer based on the differential association theory. 15. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Unit -2. The Immoral Traffic, Prevention, ACT, 1956. Krishna Murari Yadav Assistant Professor, Law Center 1, Fall, Delhi University -110,007. Introduction. Everyone has right to life with dignities. Immoral traffic is against civilization. Whatever be its origin and reasons for its survival, be they biological, economical, social or psychological, prostitution is a practice as old as civilization. It even came to be associated with devotion and dedication to gods, priests and temples. 19. Prostitution was going on in many forms including Devdasi system and Jogin traditions. 20. Many provinces enacted law to regulate prostitution. 21. During the Second World War, immoral traffic became big issues. After Second World War, United Nations General Assembly discussed on this topic and accepted Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Persons and of the Exploitation of the Prostitution of Others, 1950. It came into force on July 25, 1951.22. India signed on this convention on May 9, 1950.23. Article 2324 of the Constitution of India also prohibits traffic in person. 25. Parliament is authorized to enact law under Article 3526 of the Indian Constitution. By using this power, Parliament enacted ITPA, 1956. It is to be noted that neither the International Convention nor does Article 23 of the Constitution refer to traffic in women and girls. They refer to traffic in human beings, which would include all types of sexes. Recently, the Act has been amended by Act 44 of 1986 to cover all types of sexes. 19. The Immoral Traffic, Prevention, Act, 1956, Historical background of the Act. SCC Online Web Edition, Web Links, EBC Publishing Private. Limited. 20 Vishaljit V. Union of India and Oz. 21 Madras Suppression of Immoral Traffic Act, 1930. This act was repealed by SITA, 1956. 22 Available at web links, visited on December 26, 2021. 23 Available at web links and chapter equals 7 and clang equals _n, visited on December 28, 2021. 24 Article 23, 1. Traffic in human beings and bugger and other similar forms of forced labor are prohibited, and any contravention of this provision shall be an offence punishable in accordance with law. 25 Article 23. Prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. 1. Traffic in human beings and bugger and other similar forms of forced labor are prohibited, and any contravention of this provision shall be an offence punishable in accordance with law. 26 Article 35. E. Notwithstanding anything in this Constitution, Parliament shall have, and the legislature of a state shall not have, power to make laws, for prescribing punishment for those acts which are declared to be offences under this part, and Parliament shall, as soon as may be after the commencement of this Constitution, make laws for prescribing punishment for the acts referred to in subclause E. 16. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. There were some provisions in Indian Penal Code, 1860 regarding immoral trafficking, but these were not sufficient. In pursuance of this international convention and constitutional provision, India enacted the Suppression of Immoral Traffic in Women and Girls Act, 1956. The act came into force on May 1, 1958. It was renamed Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956 in 1986. In this way, scope of the act was widened. At the initial stage, the act was gender-based, i.e., it covered only women and girls. After the amendment in 1986, now this act is neutral law. It covers all persons, whether male or female, who are exploited sexually for commercial purposes. 27 Mr. Modi government tried to substitute this act in 201,828 and 202129. Trafficking in human beings is one of the largest organized crime violating basic human rights. Trafficking in human beings may be for sexual and physical exploitation and also for other forms of exploitation like forced labor, etc. 30 But Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956 covers only those trafficking which have been done only for immoral purposes, i.e., for prostitution. Prostitution is not only social but also a socio-economic problem. 31 Prostitution and the accompanying evil of the traffic in persons for the purpose of prostitution are incompatible with the dignity and worth of the human person and endanger the welfare of the individual, the family and the community. 32 Prostitution is against right to live with dignities as enshrined in Article 21 of the Constitution of India. There are many organizations of prostitutes which are demanding basic amenities and implementation of law properly. Many times, these prostitutes are harassed unnecessarily by implementation machinery of laws. Traffic in person is not new problem. Many provisions of Indian penal codes were dealing this issue directly and indirectly. Article 23 of the Constitution of India prohibits traffic in human being. Supreme Court in Vishaljit v. Union of India and Oz. 33 observed that traffic in human beings expression is very wide, including prohibition of traffic in women for immoral or other purposes. 27 Statement of Objects and Reasons of Amendment Act 44 of 1986. 28 The Trafficking of Persons, Prevention, Protection and Rehabilitation, Bill, 2018. Available at web links 20 Protection %20 and %20 Rehabilitation, %20 Bill, %200 and 2018. PDF 29 available at web links C%20CARE%20%20REHABILITATION20% PDF, visited on December 30, 2021. 30 Statement of Objects and Reasons, the Trafficking of Persons, Prevention, Protection and Rehabilitation, Bill, 2018. Available at web links 20 Protection %20 and %20 Rehabilitation, %20 Bill, %200 2018. PDF 31 Vishaljeet V. Union of India and Oz 32 Preamble of the Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Persons and of the Exploitation of the Prostitution of Others, 1950. Available at web links 37% 20 pm, ch_7_11_BP. PDF, visited on December 28, 2021. 33 This judgment is available at web links, last visited on August 29, 2020. 17. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Constitutional validity of Section 20 of this Act was challenged on the basis of violation of Article 14 and Article 19. Honorable Supreme Court held that this provision is constitutional. 34 In Kajal Mukesh Singh and others v. State of Maharashtra, through the Inspector in charge of Malad Police Station, 35 Bombay High Court observed that prostitution is not an offence per se. Adult woman has right to choose her vocation. Prostitute has right to livelihood. Bombay High Court passed an order for release of 3 sex workers from corrective institution. Purpose of the Act. Purpose of the Act is not to criminalize prostitution per se. This Act does not abolish prostitution. Purpose of this Act is to abolish and criminalize commercialized prostitution. 36 It also establishes protective homes for giving protections. 37 There is also a provision for establishment of special court, for speedy trial. 38 There is provision for trafficking police officer, for proper and speedy investigation. 39. Important definitions. There are following important definitions which are necessary explained for proper understanding of the ITPA, 1956. 1. Person. Person covers all human being irrespective of his, her, third gender, religion, race, caste, sex, citizenship or domicile etc. There are 3 categories of persons on the basis of age. A. Child. Child means a person who has not completed the age of 16 years. 40. B. Minor. Minor means a person who has completed the age of 16 years but has not completed the age of 18 years. 41. C. Major. Major means a person who has completed the age of 18 years. 42. 2. Brothel. Section 2, defines brothel includes any house, room, conveyance or place or any portion of any house, room, conveyance or place, which is used for purposes of sexual exploitation or abuse for the gain of another person or for the mutual gain of 2 or more prostitutes. 34 The State of Uttar Pradesh v. Kaushalya and others, date of judgment, October 1, 1963. Air 1964 South Carolina 416. 35 Date of judgment, September 24, 2020. Bombay High Court. 36 Poonam Pradhan Saxena, Immoral Traffic in Women and Girl. Need for tougher laws and sincere implementation 44 Jili 507, 2002. 37 Section 21, ITPA, 1956. 38 Section 22A and Section 22AA, ITPA, 1956. 39 Section 13, ITPA, 1956. 40 Section 2, ITPA, 1956. 41 Section 2, CB, ITPA, 1956. 42 Section 2, CA, ITPA, 1956. 18. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Definition of brothel can be divided into two parts, I, place, and E, purpose. Both conditions must be fulfilled simultaneously. I, place can further be divided between two parts, a, house, room, conveyance or place, and B, any portion of any house, room, conveyance or place. Many students take room for reading purposes. If they change their object and allowed room for sexual exploitation for gain, that room will come under definition of brothel. Conveyance means the process or system of transporting or taking somebody, something from one place to another. Boats come under definition conveyance. If you go Kashmir, and owner of boat located in Dal Lake provides girls and allows you to make sexual intercourse in that boat will come under definition of brothel. Everyone, he, she, they, you, I, we, has big or small house. Every house can't be said brothel. Only that house will come under definition of brothel which is used for sexual exploitation with certain purpose. Any portion of house will also come under definition of brothel. For example, if latrine room, storeroom, warehouse, godown located outside the house, generally in village area, will come under definition of brothel if these are used for specified purpose as mentioned under section 2a. 2. Purpose. For purposes of phrase word has been used. Will solitary act will be sufficient to constitute any place as brothel. In Krishnamurthy at Taylor Krishnan v. Public Prosecutor, Madras 43 Honorable Supreme Court observed, it may be true that a place used once for the purpose of prostitution may not be a brothel, but it is a question of fact as to what conclusion should be drawn about the use of a place about which information had been received that it was being used as a brothel, to which a person goes and freely asks for girls, where the person is shown girls to select from and where he does engage a girl for the purpose of prostitution. The conclusion to be derived from these circumstances about the place and the person keeping it can be nothing else than that the place was being used as a brothel and the person in charge was so keeping it. It is not necessary that there should be evidence of repeated visits by persons to the place for the purpose of prostitution. A single instance coupled with the surrounding circumstances is 431967 567 1967 Seychelles Rs 1,586. Available at web links visited on December 29, 2021. Brothel, Section 2a. Place. House, room, conveyance or place. Any portion of any house, room, conveyance or place. For purpose of sexual exploitation or abuse. Gain. Another person mutual gain of two or more prostitutes. 19. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Sufficient to establish both that the place was being used as a brothel and that the person alleged was so keeping it. Place must be used for specified purpose. Purpose can be divided between two parts, a. There must be sexual exploitation or abuse, and b. Such sexual exploitation or abuse must be for gain. Gain must be for either another person, who is running brothel etc. or two or more prostitutes. Where a single woman practices prostitution for her own livelihood, without another prostitute, or some other person being involved in the maintenance of such premises, her residence will not amount to a brothel. 44. If two persons, gay, lesbian, gigolo, bisexual, man and woman, are enjoying their life in house, room etc. that place will not come under definition of brothel. For the purpose of definition, there must be sexual exploitation or abuse for the gain. Gain may be in any form. Offering body for promiscuous sexual intercourse for hire is sufficient. Sexual intercourse is not an essential ingredient. 45. 3. Prostitution. Section 2, F, says prostitution means the sexual exploitation or abuse of persons for commercial purpose, and the expression prostitute shall be construed accordingly. Women and girls were substituted by persons by 1986 amendment. Person, word includes man, woman, girl, boy, third gender. There must be sexual exploitation or abuse for commercial person. If there is sexual exploitation for the entertainment or enjoyment, that will not amount prostitution. That may be other offense like rape, unnatural offense, outrage of modesty etc. 44 in Re Ratanmala, Air 1962 Mad 31. 45 Gaurav Janvi. Union of India, 1997-8, S. C. C. 114. Prostitute, Section 2, F. Sexual exploitation or abuse for commercial purpose. Person, man, women, transgender, 20. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Legal status of prostitution in INDIA 46. 4. Public place. Section 2, F, of the Act defines public place means any place intended for use by, or accessible to, the public and includes any public conveyance. A car in own parking will come under private place. But if car is in public parking or stand in front of law faculty, Delhi University, in that case, car will come under public place. Salient features of the Act. There are following salient features of the Act. 1. Neutral law. The Immoral Traffic Prevention Act, 1956 is applicable to all persons. Many men and women irrespective of their age are also exploited by other men and women. Earlier this law was applicable only in case of women and girl when they were victim. It did not cover to boys. But now if boys are exploited by other boys, men, girl or women, their matters will also covered under this law. In the definition of prostitution person, word has been used. The Act has been renamed in by 1986 amendment. 2. Legal status of prostitution. Prostitution is not prohibited. It is only regulated. It can be said that if anyone is prostitute only for their livelihood, he or she is allowed. But if anyone is involved for commercial purpose, in that case, it is prohibited. It can be said that organized commercial prostitution is prohibited. So it can be concluded that in such circumstances, it is legal, and some other circumstances it is illegal. It depends upon the facts of the case. 46 If somebody is doing it for their livelihood, then it is not an offense. It becomes illegal when somebody coerces someone into this business. For example, brothel owners, premise owners, pimps, etc. are offenders, Dr. Pavaskar said. Prostitution in India. Minor women, girl. Illegal, offense reason, her consent is immaterial. Major woman. Without consent illegal, offense with consent. With her consent, she is doing such business with other person. Illegal, offense. With her consent and she is independent. Legal, no offense 21. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. It is grey area. There is need to enact more clear law. 3. Prohibition of prostitution near to public place. Section 7 prohibits prostitution near to public place. 47 It is says that in notified area prostitution can't be run. It says that where area is not notified in that circumstances, prostitution can't be run within a distance of 200 meters of any place of public religious worship, educational institution, hostel, hospital, nursing home or such other public place of any kind as may be notified in this behalf by the Commissioner of Police or Magistrate. 4. Protective home. Protective home is established to give protection who are in need of care and protection. 48. 5. Police officer. There are special provisions for constitution of special police officer and trafficking police officer by state government and central government respectively. These police officers are appointed for the purpose of proper and speedy action and investigation. 6. Establishment of special courts. State government 49 and central government 50 can establish special court for speedy trial. Drawback. In Guriya, Swayam Sevi Sansthanvi. State of UP 51, Honorable Supreme Court observed, it is unfortunate that the investigating officers and the courts ordinarily fail to bear in mind a distinction between the rescued children including girls, on the one hand, and the persons who have been organizing such immoral traffic in a systematic manner and have otherwise been aiding and abetting the commission of offences thereunder. The legislature as also the executive has also failed to draw a well thought out plan for rehabilitation of the rescued children in the society by bringing in suitable legislations or schemes. It is very difficult to say that when prostitution is legal and when it is illegal. There is need to make more clear laws with illustrations. Reason of to be prostitute. Prostitution is cancer for society. No denying the fact that prostitution always remains as a running sow in the body of civilization and destroys all moral values. The causes and evil effects of prostitution maligning the society are so notorious and frightful that none can gainsay it. Poverty is the main reason of prostitution. Along with this, there are some more reasons of prostitution. Poverty. Several girls were in forced prostitution due to acute poverty. In some cases, parents sold in hope of better life. It is highly deplorable and heart-rending to note that 47 Section 7, ITPA, 1956. 48 Section 2 grams and Section 21, ITPA, 1956. 49 Section 22A, ITPA, 1956. 50 Section 22AA, ITPA, 1956. 51-2009-15, S.C. C. 7522. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Many poverty-stricken children and girls in the prime of youth are taken to flesh market and forcibly pushed into the flesh trade, which is being carried on in utter violation of all canons of morality, decency and dignity of humankind. 52 Greedy nature. Many persons are greedy. They do this work as a business. Lack of proper implementation machinery. Many times police department does not take these offences seriously and even in some case even FIR is not registered. If anyway FIR is registered, police does not investigate seriously. Consumerism. It has been found that many times rich girls involve in prostitution only to fulfill their unnecessary demand and to show their lavish lifestyle. Vague laws and policies. Law on this point is not clear. Even law expert can't say perfectly that in which circumstances prostitution is legal and illegal. There is no clear policies when authorities can pass an order under Section 18, ITPA, 1956 for eviction of brothel. Unemployment. Many persons are facing problems for source of earning and livelihood. Solution of prostitution. Prostitution cannot be eradicated either by banishing, branding, scourging or inflicting severe punishment on helpless and hopeless victims, most of whom are unwilling participants and involuntary victims of compelled circumstances and who, finding no way to escape, are weeping or wailing throughout. There are following way of solution of this malady was suggested by Supreme Court in Vishaljeet v. Union of India and Oz. 53-1. Role of law enforcing authorities. This devastating malady can be suppressed and eradicated only if the law enforcing authorities in that regard take very severe and speedy legal action against. Two. Role of court. The courts in such cases have to always take a serious view of this matter and inflict consigned punishment on proof of such offences. 3. Role of government. Apart from legal action, both the central and the state government who have got an obligation to safeguard the interest and welfare of the children and girls of this country have to evaluate various measures and implement them in the right directions. 4. Role of public. Public at large must also be conscious and play vital role to eradicate this malady. 52 Vishaljeet v. Union of India and Oz. 53 This judgment is available at web links, last visited on August 29, 2020. 23. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Leading cases on this topic. S. No. Name of cases here. 1. Krishnamurthy at Taylor Krishnan v. Public Prosecutor, Madras 1967. 2. Chitan J. Vaswani and ANR vs. State of West Bengal and ANR. 1975. 3. Vishaljeet v. Union of India and Oz, 1990. Krishnamurthy at Taylor Krishnan v. Public Prosecutor, Madras 54. Full Bench. Honorable Justice Raghubar Dayal, Honorable Justice v. Ramaswamy, Honorable Justice Vishishtha Bhargava. Author of Judgment, Honorable Justice Raghubar Dayal. Date of decision, September 26, 1966. Relevant statutes. 1. Suppression of Immoral Traffic in Women and Girls Act, 1956 Section 2, A. Definition of brothel Section 3, 1. Punishment for keeping a brothel or allowing premises to be used as a brothel. Section 4, 1. Punishment for living on the earnings of prostitution. Section 25, 1. Repealing of States' laws. Section 25, 2. Saving of States' laws. 2. Madras Suppression of Immoral Traffic Act, 1930. This act was repealed by SITA, 1956. Sections 5, 1, and 8, 1. Facts. Krishnamurthy Krishnan, appellant, was prosecuted for running brothel. He had already been convicted under Madras Suppression of Immoral Traffic Act, 1930. Assistant Commissioner of Police, ACP, Vigilance, having information that the house occupied by Krishnamurthy Krishnan was being used as a brothel with 3 girls, Saroja, Ambika and Lakshmi. He deputed Shanmugam as a decoy on August 22, 1962. Shanmugam was given 3 marked 10 rupee currency notes by ACP. Shanmugam went to Krishnamurthy Krishnan's place and was shown the 3 girls. He selected Ambika and paid Rs. 30 in those marked currency notes to Krishnamurthy Krishnan. After that he and Ambika went inside a room. 541967 567 1967 Seychelles rupees 1 5 available at 24. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant. Thereafter, the police part. Krishna Murari Yadav, Assistant Professor, Law CENTRE 1, University of Delhi. Thereafter, the police party raided the house and found the decoy Shanmugam and Ambika in a disheveled condition in that room. ACP recovered the marked currency notes from the possession of Krishnamurthy Krishnan. Charge: Krishnamurthy Krishnan was charged for committing offence under Section 3, 1, of SITA, 1956. Presidency Magistrate, Court, the court convicted him under Section 4(1) of Sita. High Court altered his conviction from Section 4(1) to Section 3(1), Sita, 1956. Supreme Court, Krishnamurthy Krishnan filed appeal to Supreme Court against judgment of High Court. Supreme Court dismissed appeal. Issues. There were two issues. 1. First issue, meaning of brothel, 55. Whether solitary instance of use of house is sufficient to declare house as a brothel. Answer, no. But it depends upon facts. It may be true that a place used once for the purpose of prostitution may not be a brothel, but it is a question of fact as to what conclusion should be drawn about the use of a place about which information had been received that it was being used as a brothel, to which a person goes and freely asks for. 55. Meaning of brothel. Brothel is defined in Cl. A. of S. 2. It includes any house, room or place or any portion of any house, room or place which is used for purposes of prostitution for the gain of another person or for the mutual gain of two or more prostitutes. Krishnamurthy Krishnan. Saroja Ambika Lakshmi. Shanmugham visited brothel. Shanmugham chose Ambika. Charge, Section 3(1). Presidency Court, Section 4(1). High Court, Section 3(1). Supreme Court appeal dismissed, Section 3(1). Conviction. Two issues. Meaning of brothel, Section 2(f). Meaning of second, subsequent conviction, Section 3(1).